Oh,
It's
there we
on.
go.
It's on. What's up, horror fans? Pete here from the Lasser Cast. We're being my good friend Dr. Zayas God, Danny Torkel, discuss horror movies and streaming shows. Today we are talking about Predator, Killer of Killers, not Driller of Drillers. We are going to talk about this animated Predator movie, the first animated Predator movie. And Danny is going to start us off by saying it was all right, right?
It was fine. Uh,
Yeah.
it was fine. I,
Yeah.
I, I think I voiced this opinion to you, and maybe Brian, and maybe Mike Bongiorno, whoever else we have talked about Predator movies with on our channel, and we've talked about a lot of Predator movies. We've covered the entire franchise. We've ranked the whole franchise. I am ready to move off of predators fighting humans. I am super excited. And we did a
Yeah.
video about the trailer for Predator Badlands. And that movie
Yeah.
has me so psyched. All the negative trolls on social media who want to make fun of like the way that the Predator looks in that trailer. I don't give a shit because it is in the woods fighting on another planet, fighting some friggin' wild, weird monsters with cool ass swords, and I am down for that. And after Prey came out, a lot of people were like, "Oh, let's send the Predator back to fight a samurai. Let's send the Predator to fight a Viking." And I was like, "Remember the end of Predator 2? Like, we all wanted to see the Predator fight the fucking alien. We wanted to see the Predator fight that big dragon skull on the wall. I
Yeah.
was done with the Predator fighting humans back in 1990. And so, yeah, this was, for me, fine. It was three separate Predator versus human fights that lead to kind of like a Mortal Kombat Dune 2 scene in an arena at the end, which all of it is cool. The animation is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I, just for me, I would like to see the Predator fight something cooler than human beings. And
Yes.
maybe that's why I hold such a candle for the original Alien versus Predator, even though I know it's a flawed movie, because that movie gave us several really cool Alien versus Predator fights. And the humans, like in Freddy versus Jason, just got in the way.
Right.
And that's why I'm looking so much forward to Predator Badlands. But I have a feeling you're going to have liked this more than I did. I want to make it clear I did not dislike it. I
Yeah.
I thought this was just a fine six and a half out of 10 for me. Um, right? I would rank this probably around Predators on
Mm.
my ranking. It's not Predator 1, it's not Predator 2, it's not Prey. I thought it was fine.
Okay. Okay. Well, you're right. I did like it better than that. I liked it. I'd say I'd give it an 8 out of 10. The problem is that once you get the formula, which this is essentially an anthology movie, right? There's
Mhm.
like three separate stories, and then there's a sort of a bookend part, right, to it. Once you figure out the formula, you're like, okay, well, I know how this is going to go, and you figure out the formula by the second story, right?
Of course.
So there's not much to say about it, and there's actually not that much dialogue in this movie. So it kind of opens us up to kind of deeper discussions. Like for me, when I think of the Predator franchise and when I think of the Alien franchise, which are so married to each other, I think to myself, okay, well, why do we want to keep seeing these movies? Like, what draws us into these movies? I think what it all comes down to is basically H.R. Giger and Sam Winston, right? Or, yeah, Sam Winston, right? He's the one that created the
Dan.
Terminator. And the alien, he did like the Alien Queen. He didn't make the original Alien design. Stan
No.
Winston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stan Winston did the Alien Queen.
Right. And then Stan Winston also did the Predator design too, right? Now, there's tons and tons of creative filmmakers connected to both of these franchises. Ridley Scott and James Cameron, and then you have friggin' John McTiernan directing the first movie of Predator. But there's something about the alien design and the Predator design that's just so exciting. There's so many monsters out there that are in books and movies and comic books, but these two monsters are like distinctly exciting and unique and interesting to look at. And I think that that's what kind of ultimately will get us excited no matter what, just to see them. But then it's like, what's more than that? Like, what do we want that's more than that? I think with Alien, it's the cast of human characters. It kind of contradicts what you just said. It's not like, are these humans going to survive? Is it like super exciting? Are they going to live? Are they going to die? Most of them are going to die in an Alien movie. But the Alien movies that are the best ones are the ones where you just really like these characters a lot. You really like the characters in the first Predator movie, and even in the second Predator movie, there's some really good characters. But it's like we know what's going to happen. We've seen it all before. They don't really add that much to the lore of either franchise in any of these movies. Do you agree with that, or?
I agree. I think with the first Predator, it was, of course, the human characters, because you had such an eclectic cast of Marines that are being dropped in the jungle. You have Arnold, you have Jesse the Body Ventura, you have Shane Black, you have all these great characters that I know the names of the characters more than I know the names of the actors. I'm like Mac and Concho and Billy. You still know the names of these characters. But I think with the Predator, and this is what it's always, it annoyed me more in Killer of Killers than it has ever really before, but it made me start to think about it. Is the Predator hunting humans? You really have to be a real shitty predator to get killed by a human. Because now let's go back to the original Predator, right? First ever 1987 John McTiernan Predator movie.
Right.
Like, the Predator chooses to fight Arnold Schwarzenegger one-on-one, hand-to-hand combat. But then that same Predator chooses to sit in the tree and shoot his cannon to kill Jesse Ventura and Mac. Like, he doesn't hand-to-hand combat them. So it's like he could have killed Dutch in the original movie. He just, Dutch, obviously, he got covered in the mud, and so he was kind of forced into that, which is what's so great about it. But then it's like, now I'm like watching these movies, and I'm like, I struggled with my suspension of disbelief in an animated Predator movie that like a World War II airplane was going to take out a Predator like jet, this flying spaceship vehicle. I struggled with the idea that like two samurai were going with their swords are going to be able, because why wouldn't the Predator just take them out with the shoulder cannon? At least in Prey, what I loved about Prey was that they made the technology almost time appropriate, it felt like. And that Predator in that movie it felt more primitive. Like he still had like insane technology that probably should have been able to kill a Navajo teenage girl, but that's kind of the purpose of the movies. To your point, when you said it's an anthology, you get the formula. I feel like because it was an anthology, it took away all of the thrill of the movie, because we were just saying like, oh, in Predator, we're like, oh, how is he going to kill these Marines? How are they going to try to catch him? They do that whole booby trap scene in the woods to try to get him. And you're like, oh, Well, he's obviously, you have Ursa, the Viking. You have the two um, samurai, Kenji and Kiyoshi, and then you have
Right.
Torres. They're obviously all going to survive, and they're all going to manage to kill the predator to set up the final act of the movie because they're fighting a different predator. And so the
Right.
first hour of the movie doesn't really feel like there's any stakes to
Right.
it.
Right.
Like there are side characters that are literally there to be killed. Like Michael
Right.
Bihn's character is literally just a guy who's there to be killed in a dramatic way in the third part of the anthology. And because of that, it just feels like there's not a lot of stakes to this until that last 20-25 minutes. And then I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then even then I feel like they had a chance to do something cool, and they kind of took like the chicken way out at the end.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, okay, so let's talk about that for a second because I think that this movie and a couple of other Predator movies that have happened in the past few years take away the Predator's teeth, right? Like going along with your point of, well, there seemed to be something special about Arnold Schwarzenegger in the first movie, but then all of a sudden there's all of these movies where humans take out predators. Sometimes it's very easy. Sometimes it's pretty challenging. I think it was pretty challenging for Danny Glover. But in these sequences in this movie, it's kind of like, okay, the Predator's going to come in, he's going to slaughter a whole bunch of red shirts, and then there's the main character, and we know that the main character is now going to end up on this ship with a collar around their neck, and they're going to be this prisoner. Now, the way that I thought this anthology was going to end was I thought they were going to have 4 stories, and then the last one was going to end, and then these people were going to be dropped off on that planet from predators.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was going to be. But then it becomes this whole big arena sequence, which I get it. I get it. They're kind of like, oh man, these are really challenging prey. These are really challenging humans. And so we're going to watch the humans fight each other. Then they're going to fight this big, broad predator. And I mean, it's exciting, but the way that they're able to handle the predators on their planet, with their predator technology, and the one guy's got a fucking musket. The other one's got a shield that's broken, and the other one has a samurai sword. Somehow they're able to destroy this gigantic beast, spoilers, and beat up this predator, this alpha predator, and then get away. It was a little too much.
And also,
Go ahead.
Torres, being a World War II pilot, is now immediately versed in the flying technology of the
Yeah.
Predator. Like I said, it broke my suspension of disbelief in
Right.
in an animated Predator movie, which
Right.
is very hard to do because you don't go in with much of a suspension of disbelief to be broken.
Right. Yeah, well, I'll tell you this. There's one part that shocked me, and I was like, whoa. But then it was undone almost immediately. It's when they're in the arena and they're struggling with this creature. They're kind of fighting amongst themselves. Torres is kind of thrown up in the air, and he falls into the mouth of the creature, or one of the 2 mouths of the creature, and it swallows him. And I was like, oh shit, it killed him. I was like, okay, that was kind of shocking. But then you see that it's just he's inside it, and he's not cut up at all or bitten. He's just intact inside of this creature. So that
actually reminded me of the opening scene of Guardians 2.
Oh yeah.
Where Drax
Right.
allows himself to get swallowed so that he could cut the monster from the inside.
Right,
And
right.
I'm like, that's an action comedy. I shouldn't be getting reminded of that.
Right. So let's talk about then what is the purpose of these movies, right? Because it's enjoyable. I think an 8 out of 10 is a good movie experience. It's worth having a subscription to Hulu or Disney Plus or whatever. But you have to imagine this movie probably cost close to $100 million to animate, and it took hours and hours for talented artists to draw it, voice acting for it to be directed, and it's well, is it worth all that to make a movie that we're that was good? Is it worth it at that point? And I kind of say no, because I'd much rather have something like Psycho Goreman, where it's like it costs no money and creative people are able to just make something different and weird and use their own vibe versus putting like $100 million into something where like, okay, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. Oh, that part was good. This is gonna happen. It's just it's not fulfilling, and I feel like that's almost every fucking thing we cover on my other channel, and a lot of stuff we cover on this channel. You know?
I mean, well, in terms of comic books, I mean, where, I mean, we've reached a point where a movie like Thunderbolts is considered a box office failure when it made just under $400 million worldwide.
Right.
And meanwhile, it is one of the best received critically Marvel movies in the last couple of years. You know, maybe
Right.
since Guardians 3 or No Way Home. And yet, despite the positive response from most people who've seen it, and despite the critical reception, like, oh, it didn't make $1 billion, so it's a failure. And
Right.
uh, I'm meanwhile, I have heard that this Killer of Killers is like one of Hulu's most streamed movies, and it's doing pretty well. So I mean, what's it called? Prey was phenomenal, and it was
Yeah.
very well received critically.
Right.
And so I
Was Prey on your top 10 list for that year?
why yeah, it made it onto our list. One
Was
second.
it on both our lists?
Yeah, I think
Uh-oh.
so.
He disappeared. He's the Predator. He cloaked himself. I think Danny's got to go get some thing or something, but I can keep talking about Predator. It's all good. So I think where he was going with it was that this seems to be a success. I guess to me it feels like, okay, he's back. All right,
Sorry,
continue your point, my man.
my daughter called, so I just want to make sure I might have to go pick her up a little bit early.
Okay, that's fine. All right, we can kind of wrap this up.
No. Keep going for now. I'll see what the call was about.
All right, all right. So let me kind of take my point I want to make and kind of marry it to what you just said. I'm talking about marriage a lot today for some reason. But anyway, I feel like with these Predator movies and with the Alien movies, they add little small things to the lore, but they don't make these dramatic big changes anymore. And a lot of the times the supporting characters to the creatures aren't as exciting. Like the main character in Prey is exciting because it's like a Native American woman, and this is a long time ago. But like there's always these little tiny details that are added. Like the android in Alien Romulus. I thought he was a great touch. He was probably the most interesting thing in that previous movie. And that's a movie just filled with all these references to other Alien films.
Yeah, to its detriment.
Right, exactly. And then I think that like Predators is interesting because it like kind of flips the script and it's like, okay, well, this is on another planet. It's a game warden planet, and we drop humans on it, and the Predators hunt the humans. But then there's also this idea that there's actually like two different factions of Predators, so that adds to the lore too, right? Shane Black took that and ran with it in the awful The Predator movie, where it's like there is like this sort of predator genetics war, and there's like super predators and regular predators, and they're getting humanity involved. Somehow autism is connected, right? Like there's always these like little details, but it's never this like new compelling chunk the way we go from Alien to Aliens. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why Aliens is the movie that it is. You know,
Right.
but I even thought that about Predator 2. You know, you completely change the setting. And the same thing with Prey. By completely changing the setting, the problem is we've done Prey, so we've done Alien versus a more primitive version of human before. Now we did it twice, and then World War II. And it did kind of feel like for the first hour of the 80 plus minutes that we'd been there and done that. That's what, again,
Right.
I'm beating the horse, but that's why I'm so interested in Badlands. It looks like something that we have completely never seen before. It looks like it's the Yautja, like, pup or whatever you call it, is like dropped into like a training world where it's like kill or be killed, with new weapons against new monsters, new alien races. And yeah,
Right.
there's some Wayland Utani stuff in the background to keep us like, ooh, what's going on there? Is there's a cyborg and oh my goodness. And it's like, that's cool. And it looks like something that we have not ever seen. You know,
Right.
I keep thinking of like, even though I don't like Prometheus, there's enough new interesting things in it that made me, it keeps bringing me back to Prometheus. Where like I'll rewatch Prometheus once every year or two just to like be like, oh yeah, I still don't like it, but I admire the chances it takes here and there. Whereas like Alien Covenant is like, oh no no no, we have to bring back the xenomorph. We have to do xenomorph things. Nothing you saw before matters, and yeah, I like even like you brought up Romulus, that weird fucking hybrid monster at the end of Romulus. Kind of sort of dug it in a way because it was a weird thing we had never seen before.
Yeah.
And
Right. Go ahead.
no, so like, I just, again, like, I feel like this is what we do when we don't have a lot to say about a particular show or movie, is we talk about
Yeah.
the other things in the franchise.
Right. The
And
bigger picture. But
mhm,
see, like, just going along with what you just said, like the creature that's at the end of Romulus, that's kind of like the same kind of sequence as the baby alien thing at the end of Alien Resurrection, the newborn. And then they kind of imply that the alien DNA stuff mixed with the human DNA can make an engineer. So it's hinting at like this bigger picture stuff. And
mhm.
this movie, it also hints at bigger picture stuff too. At the very end, we see that the captured Viking woman who kind of sacrifices herself. They didn't kill her. They put her in cryogenic sleep, and then she goes like what do you call it, Raiders of the Lost Ark style down this big corridor with all these different containers. You see other creatures and things in containers, and there's a weird ass fucking creature in one of them. I actually saw this in the description here. It's called a tetrabrachial, which is like this creature with like multiple arms. And apparently that's in a Predator comic that came out. That one Marvel has recently been making Predator comics, and that was in there. So I like when they hint at like this bigger world, and I
And
like when
then
they connect it.
and
Go ahead.
then Naru is in there from Prey. That's like the
Right,
last
right.
image you see.
Right, right. And that was sort of a little, tease in itself. That was some clickbait in itself because I saw a YouTube thumbnail where they're like, what does that cameo mean for the Predator franchise? And they had a picture of Dutch. So I was like, oh shit, is Schwarzenegger in this? But it's because they were misleading us. I'm cool with Naru being in, cryogenic sleep, that they've basically captured her. I took it from this movie that it's like you kill a Predator, they basically capture you and then they use you for this gladiator event, you know?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I want to see the Predator branch out more.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could do all kinds of creative, weird sci-fi stuff. It's just they're not going to do it because ultimately Disney and just movies in general, big budget movies in general, play it safe. I was going to ask you. I know you got to go pick up your daughter, but I wanted to ask you real quick. Considering this is an anthology movie, which segment did you enjoy the most? The wraparound story, the bullet, the shield, or the sword?
So I could tell you the story I liked the least, and that was the World War II one. I felt that was I'll tell you a couple of reasons why. The Predator never fights; he just flies around, which is a
Right.
complete departure from what we've always seen. That the Predator is like a hand-to-hand fighter, which I thought was an interesting like I guess he's fighting against planes and other flying vehicles. But also, I just never believed that like a rickety World War II fighter should ever beat the Predator's advanced technology. I don't know. I think by that point I was kind of a little bored.
Yeah.
Also, I think I like the Scandinavian story the most because I just like that the Viking mindset, and uh, I like Ursa under the water and the Predator walking on the ice and her looking up through the ice. And I thought her scene with the Predator and with the blood on the face and her backstory, that I was like, I think it was one of those things where I was into it at the very beginning. I was like, oh, I like where this is going. I like where this is
Yeah.
going. And then it got to the Japan scene, and I was like, okay, this is good. This is good, but it's just kind of a longer version of what we just saw. And then we got
Right.
to World War II, and I was like, okay, all
Yeah.
right, he's gonna kill the
Yeah.
Predator again. All right, so how's he
Yeah.
gonna do it? And then by the time they got to the last part, I was like, oh, thank God, let's do something different. And I don't think it went in the direction I was kind of hoping. So I think by default, I like the Scandinavian part the most.
Okay, all right. You kind of made me feel a little different about the Scandinavia one because I actually think I like that one the least to begin with. Um, I liked the World War II pilot one because I was like, it's a whole fucking planet of creatures, and
Keep
you're telling me that
keep talk
every single.
keep
Yeah,
talking. I'm
yeah.
just gonna check. I'm just gonna check with Athena about what's going on, and then I'll be right back. So keep
Okay,
talking.
okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. So I was gonna say that like you have a whole planet of alien hunters, and like all of them hunt the exact same way. I like the idea of there being a predator that focuses on aerial combat. And so that like it goes to planets and takes on aerial, ships and planes and things like that. I like that idea. I like that it was basically a big air battle. But like what Danny said, the fact that like he's taken on these World War II planes, that was a bit of a stretch. Once you get to that part of the film, it's a bit of a stretch. I was just saying, Danny, that like I actually like the idea of there being like a predator whose focus is on ships. Because it's like, what if there's a fucking surfing predator that likes to fight like water monsters, right? Or, just like they have like specialties. Because you got to think there's a whole fucking race that hunts people. It's like the idea of like hunting people or fighting people in different types of warfare. I think that's kind of
I
interesting.
I do agree with you there. That is interesting. That, but again, I think it boils down to like the original Predator takes place in the jungle. How do they get to the jungle? In a helicopter. So it's like I feel like we have seen other human beings. The Predators in L.A. in World War II, in Predator 2, and like there's airplanes and helicopters in that movie. And I just feel like if you're going to have a Predator who just sits in his, Predator spaceship taking out humans, I would want it to have been almost futuristic, where we jump to like 2100 and we have like these high tech super planes that are like World War II, especially like they make it a point. It's like a plot point that it's like a rickety plane. It just felt silly to me. And again, I come back to my biggest like I guess nag on this movie is that I struggled to suspend my disbelief in an animated Predator movie. Like
Okay, okay.
to your point, if they went to a planet of flying monsters, yeah, go after them in your ships. You don't have wings. There's no winged predator, as far as I know. So that would
Right,
be cool. Like if you're
right.
if you're fighting like Sauron from the X-Men, like yeah, get in your fucking spaceship and go after Sauron. That'd be fucking cool. You know?
Whoa. That's a deep cut, Danny. It's
Okay.
Sauron from the X-Men.
Yeah, I used to collect the
Wow.
comic cards and
Right.
when I was a kid, I know some shit.
That would be actually kind of fucking awesome. Yeah, you bring up some great points. I actually really like your idea of them fighting like advanced human ships, like advanced, airplanes or even spaceships. That's pretty cool. I like that idea too. It sounds like we're kind of on the same page. I think that I just kind of like this a little bit more. My last thing, because I know you got to go pick up your daughter and stuff, is like,
I actually,
what's up?
it's funny. I went out to see what and Athena just left. Apparently, I'm assuming she's going to pick her up. So, okay,
Oh, I
bye.
hope so. Okay. Well, just kind of like one last thing I was going to bring up is like Dan Trachtenberg, right? Like, what's up with him? Like, it sounds like his only movie that he had prior to this was, or prior to Prey, was 10 Cloverfield Lane. Then they kind of like, pair him up with the Predator franchise. And I think he's like the main guy behind the franchise now.
Well, is he doing Badlands?
Yeah.
Oh, I listen. I loved Prey. I liked this. I thought it was fine. Here's the best compliment I can give it, and it feels like I'm being condescending, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I think this was like 90 minutes on Hulu, and I put it on at like 11:30 at night, and it flew by, and I didn't like fall asleep in the middle. I stayed up till like 12:45, 1 in the morning on a work night on my couch. So I think this is like a nice, fun little project that kind of, sits in the background. But I mean, look, Trachtenberg did something original with Prey. I'm hoping we get another super cool original Predator movie with Badlands. And then, let him, as Gen Z would say, let him cook, I guess. I have been bored, and this is me, I've been bored with the Predators versus humans effectively since Predator 2. And when Predator 2 ended and that scene at the end, I was like, oh my God, Predators are going to fight aliens. And I've been waiting for a really great Predators versus alien race movie for the last 35 years.
Yeah.
And I cling to Alien versus Predator, the first one, the first AVP, because it was the best version of that.
Right. 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 Well, one thing that might be interesting for you, Danny, and this goes back to my channel, Comic Books Transform, that I referenced before, is that boy, Marvel is just fucking milking the shit out of the Predator, man. Right now, there is a Predator versus Wolverine comic now. There is a Predator versus Spider-Man comic, I'm pretty sure. There's Predator versus Black Panther. So who knows? Maybe they're setting that up.
But to that point, that goes along with, one of the things that we're saying where it's like, okay, the Predator can take out normal human beings. What if it went up against a superhero? What if it went up
Right.
against a metahuman? Or, I know that in the past, Batman Predator is one
Yeah.
of those movies that has always existed. Not movies, has always, you know what I mean. The comic
Yeah.
was like mid 90s, I think that comic was out. So
Right.
like, why haven't we, with all of the properties being owned by like 2 or 3 companies, you would think at some point, like, hey, Hugh Jackman's still in the fold. Like, let's do a fucking Wolverine movie. Let's do a Spider-Man movie. Like, I just think it would be so much fucking cooler to watch the Predator go up against a superhuman superhero that could match him in, maybe not power or fighting ability, but like durability and survival instincts and weaponry. I think that
Yeah.
would be fucking cool. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, the Predator has even gone up against fucking Archie from Archie Comics.
I,
So, I don't know. I like the Predator. I know there's a lot of like Predator novels and video games that tell a story and stuff too. So I think that people like the world. They like the fact that it's connected to Alien. But when it comes to like this big budget movie, it's kind of like, well, what are we doing that's different? And it sounds like Badlands is where you want to pay your Predator money, right? To
yeah,
put your
I'm
Predator
very
chips down.
excited for Badlands.
Yeah, man. Cool. Well, with that being said, Danny, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody what is on the channel at the moment?
Well, we have a review of 28 Days and Weeks Later that we recorded last week. 28 Years Later comes out next week, a week from tomorrow. I have a bunch of shorts on the channel for Dangerous Animals, a new Jai Courtney shark movie, which is pretty cool, if not incredibly stupid. And I have Charlotte and I did a review of Bring Her Back, and I also have a short review of that if you don't want any spoilers.
Nice, nice. Yeah, there's some good shit out. And then like Life of Chuck is in the theaters now?
Life of Chuck is in theaters now. I think it officially goes wide release tomorrow. As soon as you see it, I will immediately jump on and cover it with you. It is in no
Okay.
way a horror movie, but it's a Mike Flanagan movie. And as the Lasser cast, we are contractually obligated to talk about it.
Right, right. If only he was contractually obligated to come on our channel, that'd be kind of nice.
Well, he did. He when I met him at Comic-Con and I said I was one of the guys from the Lasser cast, he did react immediately and go, "Oh shit, the Lasser cast! I follow you guys." So
Oh
yeah,
my God, that is awesome. That
yeah.
is awesome. That made me
And
excited.
two years ago yesterday at the Suitable Flesh premiere, I met Mike Flanagan there as well.
Nice, nice. Okay, well, that's fucking cool. Mike Flanagan, if you're watching, hopefully our Predator review excited you. I think you probably have some other stuff to do, like work on the remake of Carrie or reboot or whatever, and maybe get that Dark Tower movie in there. But guys, we are so thankful that you guys watch this review, that you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you comment on Danny's videos. He puts them out like crazy. And I guess we're going to go talk about after this about what we're going to record next. But until then, you guys keep your mandibles out, and we'll see.